the issues at hand, I wouldn't be surprised if it is a factor. Certainly, it's this, and not specifically just on Mandami. I would say there's appeal to
Okay, I'm going to restart this live stream. Go to the channel
political
and
machines,
go to the
whether
live.
it's the left or the right, because of change. And there's always this optimism, as Marshall talked about, optimism with this notion of change. And, perhaps you look at historically, most recently, created Barack Obama was fairly unknown. And before him, Bill Clinton wasn't really taken seriously. But they kind of came across with the sense of optimism that their change could deliver a better day for Americans. So I think with that appeal, it seems to me like that was a factor in New York. But again, I'm not a New York voter resident, so I'm just giving you my out of the market perspective and just kind of my own personal view.
Thank you, Howard. Let's go to our Chinese connection. Tiger, good to see you back on the stage. What do you think? And how many of these young people can China take?
Well, I'm sure if you notice from American media, because this is often reported, that the youth population in China aren't very happy either. There are, youth unemployment and the so-called movement of lying down flat. What we're witnessing is not specific, on the economic aspect. Of course, the politics is aside, because America has very interesting division. As your data points out, division is one of the stress points. In China, there's not so much division, but the economic outlook is the same. And I suspect for most of the more developed countries on the planet is a similar trend where what we're witnessing is really a late terminal stage of this particular brand of social Darwinist capitalism. And if you read Marx, right, and not Engels, because Engels says about this class struggle, and that's probably not true if you look at the history. It never really happened that way, because what we're seeing in history is the working population blends into the capitalists by, having investment and stocks themselves, so they become part of the system. But the one thing that Marx said is that your social relations in a capitalist system is really dependent on the advancement of technology, and we cannot roll back the clock and put the technology back in the genie bottle, because automation is going to be increasingly dominant when it comes to human productivity. And the entire society is just going to need less and less human labor, adding to which the people in power who's already in the positions of power today are, dug in their position, and before their retirement, they have no reason to let the younger population replace themselves. So what we're seeing is a solidification of the stratification of the society, the diminished opportunity for the youth, the overabundance of supply of labor in all skill sets, even in the more advanced skill sets as well. And certainly, I don't think America is even the worst in that regard, because America is the source of global capital. And because of that overflow of capital, there are more jobs in the more innovative parts of the startup scene, for example. Though what we're seeing is, of course, the larger players, due to their scale, will continue to dominate and increasingly dominate over the smaller companies, even in that realm as well. And we're just looking at diminished opportunities for young people. And because of that intense competition among the young population, not even just in job seeking, right? This is also in dating, romance, companionship. Because of this overabundance and over-competition of the labor force, the effort you have to make to earn a respectable living, to be comfortable enough to be dating someone, for example, and paying for dinner if you're old-fashioned, that's just going to be increasingly difficult for the young people. And they have to spend more and more energy to go through school and interviews and job performance reviews to even sustain their not so great livelihood. And a lot of people just check out because.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm curious though. What does it cost if you want to take someone on a date for dinner in China in American dollars? Like if you translate, if you convert it yen to dollar, what would that cost?
I'll be back in 3 minutes. I'll be back in 3 minutes.
Are you serious? Do you really need to come back in 3 minutes? I guess he does. I guess he's going to come back in 3 minutes.
I guess so. Maybe he got some feedback on his initial comments. He's going to answer for them.
Okay, yeah, because I'm really curious. Dating. I mean, I'm on partner.
It's about $20, like if you're to convert it.
Oh my gosh,
It's a really good price.
I would love to date in China. I'm dating in the wrong country. Oh my goodness, this is incredibly helpful. I did not mean to shut Tiger down. I was just really curious. But we'll get back to
about
Tiger.
the third of the cost of the puppy's brunch.
Thank you, Victoria. All right, let's go to Steve, followed by Linda. Steve, my main man from West Virginia, Country Road, take me home. Speak some truth into this question, Steve. Why do 2/3 of the people want to leave the country? What do you think of this, Steve? And how are you doing emotionally?
Well, I'm a total emotional and psychological wreck. That's all. I think Tiger hit on some good points. I think there's been some good points already raised. I think the stratification of the income in the economy. I think there's another component that hasn't been hit on here when we talk about the angst and the anxiety within the society. I think that there's a social media component to this that, if my life isn't what I see people posting on a social media site and they're doing all these wonderful things, then obviously I have nothing to live for, and I'm not where I need to be. But I think there's a little bit of delusional thinking too about leaving the country, because they may perceive that they could go somewhere and hit a better quality of life. And I think globally, with the global pressure and competition, I don't, look at England. Are you going to go there and get a better life? France, Spain? But I think there's economic components. I think there's political divisions that's creating anxiety too, because there's such a division. But I really think is that we're seeing the fruition of economic policy that, and I've hit on this a lot, that started in the late 70s, early 80s, where we started offshoring. And now the things, I was telling my son the other day that when I first got out of school, I knew people in different heavy manufacturing cities. You could just take off and within a couple of days you could find a job, a decent job, one that you could decent money at. Maybe you wouldn't want to stay there your entire life, but the opportunity and options was there. And I think the younger people are seeing shrinking opportunities, and I think they can realize that my avenues are limited now, and then with them talking about housing and different things, so there's a lot of pressure on all fronts, and I don't think there's a simple solution like moving out of the country. It could be one that proverbial I'll go from the ground to the fire type thing. So I don't know. I think it's all the above, and some of the speakers have hit on some really good things, and I think people looking at social media seeing someone else, my life's great, and then you take an inventory of your life and you say, well, it's not stacking up, so obviously there's something wrong with me, and then you get anxiety, depression, and stuff like that. And then, another component of this, and I see it all the time, the younger people are having a very, very bad addiction issue with hardcore drugs. And I think it's a component of what we've been talking about. I think this anxiety, this depression, this hopelessness is leading our youth, a good portion of them, to basically become walking zombies. And it's very distressing. And as far as having an answer, no, I don't have an answer for this. I can see the problem, but the solution, I'm not sure. I'll leave it there, Scott.
Steve, always great to hear from you. I just want to ask you before I go back to Tyler. Steve, what does it cost if a guy wants to relocate? I'm in Philadelphia, which is mildly expensive. Not anymore. I do pretty well. What does it cost to take a person that's not being mentioned? I'm going to ask the person on a date, what's it take to take them out to dinner in West Virginia? How much, Steve? What are we talking dollars?
Well, if I was a young person, I was looking at taking a lady out and showing her a decent time. I would think at minimum $200. That's just me.
$200 in West Virginia?
Well, I mean, if you go to a decent restaurant, if you got a restaurant, you don't want to take them to a fast food drive-through. Well, I'm just saying, if you go out and do some other things, have dinner, go out and maybe go to a club or maybe go see a movie or something. I may be a little high, Scott, but $100, $200, that range, I would think.
Ladies, God forbid anything happens to Steve if he becomes a winner. This guy is a great date. He's a classy guy, Steve. Thank you. You are a class act. It was great to see you, my friend. Tiger, can you give, before I go to Linda, can you give me the figure? People estimate $20 to take someone out on a date in China. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's pretty accurate actually, because Victoria actually lived in China, I know. So she actually even speaks the language. And also, if you want to meet China, please follow her, way of doing it, because I'll only be happy if you integrate her. Let's try to integrate. But yeah, I took 8 people out for banquets of over 10 dishes in China. And it's a very decent place, and it only cost me over just over $100 in US dollars terms.
Tiger, I need your real estate agent. I'll be leaving the country next week. Thank you so much, my friend. Always nice to see you. Let's go to Linda.
Hi, everybody. Hi, good evening. I think Steve's actually right. I live in Ohio, but I'm away from West Virginia. It would be $200 for a decent date. I think that's about right. I guess I would say this. I think why do people have to young people to leave the country? I actually agree with Steve. I think seeing what other people are doing on social media, I think that creates what he's talking about, where I think they think other people are having this great, wonderful life. I noticed that I'm 39, and I just kind of observed that people, like in their early 20s, they kind of get they don't have enough money to live on their own. When I got my first apartment, I live in Ohio though, so I'm going to say this is Ohio prices, but my first apartment was $555 a month. And so when I got paid, and my student loan payments were affordable at that time. So I paid my car payment, I paid my student loans, I paid my rent, paid my utilities, and I still had money left to put in my savings, and I still had money left to go out with friends, and we would go out to the bar, even happy hours, eat out, like little activities and stuff. And I still had money to put away to go travel. And I noticed a lot of the younger people now, costs are so high, and I don't see their wages really going up, and they seem to just not have as much money to me because the rates are high. The other thing I've noticed is they're more like isolated. I think they seem to be like on their phones more, and I just noticed a lot of my young neighbors, like 20, like 24, 25, 26, they don't go out much. They stay a lot to themselves in their apartment unit, whereas opposed to, like I said, years ago, 15 years ago, whatever, I would go out with my friends. So I did notice they seem to be kind of socially isolated. So I think maybe just disappointment with the state of the country, where things are at as far as inflation costs. I've been there. I did like the pace of life was a little slower. I did like the work week was a little bit shorter. I did like the warm weather. And the things I loved about it, I loved the culture that they're always with their family, but it's extremely poor. So I think Steve's right. When you look at these other countries, you have to look at the benefits versus you have to look at all the pros and all the cons. And just because you pack up and leave doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be all rainbows and sunshine, because now you're in a new country. You might need to learn the language. You're going to need to learn the culture. You're going to need to assimilate, learn the laws and the rules and the processes in that land, and that can be really difficult. So I'm not saying I hate the United States. I love my country. I considered it myself. Wanting a different perspective, wanting to see how other people live. I've just always been curious what it's been like to live in another country, and that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Linda, that was great. And I just want to ask you a question, which you can feel free to not answer. Now that you're married and your husband takes you on a date, what do you think that date costs in Ohio?
I don't ask.
What a wise woman. What a wise woman.
He took me out. He took me out for my birthday. We went to the Texas Roadhouse, and I ordered whatever I wanted, and then we went bowling, and I love to bowl, so I'm not a good bowler, but I enjoyed it. So I don't ask, and I don't even know, like, the guy's got to get his hair cut. I know the haircut is a big thing. They got to get haircut costs have gone up. They got to have gas in their car. They got to get the car clean. So I know it's a whole thing, but no, I don't ask.
Thank you so much, Linda. And let's go now to my dear friend, candidate for Congress, John Kitover, who goes on lots of dates, who's running for Congress, who is a fiscally disciplined Republican. John, you're running for Congress, trying to set this country on hopefully a more hopeful path. Why do 2/3 of young people want to leave the country, John, and what do you make of it as a candidate for Congress?
Hey, Scott, Marshall, Howard, Alan, everybody else, good evening. Thank you for being here. I hope you're all having fun. Sorry to hear that Gary isn't feeling well. It's my birthday today. I'm 43 years old. And you know what? I like Scott's Trump impersonation. I think Scott has incredible political analysis, and his vocabulary, his words, his descriptions, his knowledge is, he's a subject matter expert. And so, I think that the same problem has been happening for the past 100 years, 200 years. Generations and wealth transfer and industry and economics and growth and war and debt and borrowing and spending. All these things are interconnected, and it's global. It's not just national. We do live in a global community. And I just think that education at this point is still our greatest asset and opportunity to turn things around for the youth, who I think really are very much addicted to cell phones, to content, possibly to cannabis, possibly to other substances. And, I went to a party on Halloween, and the DJ and other people, I will say, were using illicit substances, the kinds of substances you might find on boats now on fire in the Caribbean, because our Air Force is so proficient at attacking drug smugglers coming from Venezuela. But returning to education, I was hoping I could share what the Buddha wrote in his Dhammapada on happiness, because that's what we're really talking about, is how do we increase the happiness for the common man and common woman here in America, so when you graduate college, you don't have $100,000 in student loan debt, you don't get taken by predatory credit card and high interest loan companies. So I would just like to read the wise words of the Buddha. This is about 20 little sentences here. Cut me off whenever you want, Reverend Scott, but this is written by the Buddha, who is
30 seconds, buddy. 30 seconds with the Buddha.
Truly, we dwell in happiness. Others hate, but we do not. Surrounded by those who hate, we live free from hatred. Truly, we dwell in happiness. Others are sick, but we are not. Surrounded by sick people, we live free from sickness. Truly, we dwell in happiness. free from struggles while others struggle. Surrounded by struggling people, we live free from conflict. Truly, we Americans dwell in happiness, having no obstacles at all. We shall feed on joy like radiant Americans. Victory produces hostility, for the defeated ones live in grief. Releasing both victory and defeat, the tranquil minds dwell in happiness. There is no fire like lust, no evil like hatred. There are no disasters equal to the khandhas. There is no happiness greater than the peace of nirvana. Hunger is the most severe bodily disease. Conditioned things are the worst calamity. When we see this clearly, we achieve nirvana, the ultimate bliss. Health is the highest price.
Thank you, John. It is your birthday, so we recognize this up in the club. Thank you. Because it's your birthday show. And we are going to go next to, wait, I just lost my place. I'm so sorry. Mods, can you help me out because John was moved down?
Yeah, you got David and David.
I'm so sorry, everybody. I am on Club Deck, so the interface is a little challenging in that regard. David G., my main man from California. It's great to see you, my friend. Congratulations. I'm sure you are still glowing from the showing of your wonderful Dodgers. David, why, with such a great baseball team and so many other things, do people want to leave the country? And what do you make of all this? Are you making a plan?
A great room. I actually saw this article and I was entertaining it from a standpoint of what this would portend to the country if, in fact, this reality were to occur. Part of the whole American experiment, that's how we should frame it, is that you have to have the buy-in of the younger generations. When I came of age, when my dad came of age, I was in the room. I mean, there was no negotiating how you needed to get to, what you needed to do to be successful in this country, or at least try to be. The America gives you the opportunity. Unless you're born wealthy, trust fund, or you can sing and be a Michael Jackson or an NFL athlete. You gotta use your wits, you gotta use your knowledge, education, your family upbringing, where you live, and you gotta make a go of it. And part of, nobody said it was gonna be easy, but if you sat on your ass, you weren't gonna get anywhere. Well, but we had an America where when you made that effort, you were deriving some modicum of success and some benefit. We're talking about what it costs to date a woman properly, or man, or any other persuasion you might have in terms of wanting a long-term relationship. And you had confidence that if you were able to attract that significant other, you could put down roots and have a family or make a goal of it and see some sort of benefit out of your struggle. I don't think the youth today, see the juice being worth the squeeze. I've traveled a fair amount and I've seen these keyboard, what do you call it? Influencers / digital nomads. That's the word I was looking for. And, I don't know how well they're doing or not doing, but, it seems to me that many are saying to themselves, sorry about the plane overhead, look, I'm going to go travel the world, take my energies and my youth, and not give it to this XYZ corporation who's just going to drain my youth, offer me no upside, and at the end of the day, sorry, there's some banner plane flying overhead. Apologize for that. The temptation of the exotic, the temptation of beautiful beaches and being able to open my laptop and make money. That's kind of the new dream. Forget waiting 30 years to get that gold watch and ride off into the sunset. I'm going to do it right now. These have horrible implications for corporations that need to hire, rank and file workers to buy into the system. And if you can't use your money in this country, you can't make enough money in this country to buy a house. where a big chunk of American wealth is created on the form of home ownership, then what am I doing? I'm giving you my youth and my time, and for what? So, I think that plays into the equation. I think there's a temptation that life in America is over. I live in Los Angeles, Scott, to go back to your comment about that, and the Dodgers did a great job with when I first came to LA. This was the Shangri-La of America, in my opinion. It was rents weren't through the roof. Hollywood was probably at its apex, and people came here to ply their trade or dreams or go to college here. And I've traveled over 30 countries, and I always love coming back to this beautiful weather. But at some point between when I first got here today, a lot of things have broken down: homelessness, crime.
Let me ask you, bro. Hold on, because I'm from Los Angeles too. What year did you?
What year? There's no interruption, Scott. There's no interruption, man. Sorry.
Oh, okay, I was not shooting. Okay.
We'll come to you in a second.
Yeah, right. But my point is that even people are now fleeing this great state because it's expensive. They can't. The corporations are leaving. We've had a lot of corporations leave California, from Toyota, tech companies, aerospace. This used to be, we were the vanguard of aerospace, and we don't have a single corporation that exists here anymore in terms of corporate headquarters. So those jobs are gone, Scott. So unless America can somehow, and I think the Mondavi victory, with all of its, potential to be a disaster because of his youth, his positions on this and that, he at least represents a new face, new blood, an excitement about politics that I think you have to capture the youth today to buy into. Now we have these other influencers out there putting forward awful ideas about Nazis, the Swinty's guy, Tucker Carlson giving him a forum. This bro culture that's attaching itself to this. I think these are bad omens going forward unless we can somehow, provide an America that people can believe in and share it, right? So otherwise, they're not going to want to make the stroke. They're not going to want to show up to work. They're not going to want to invest in this country because they don't feel like the outcome is going to benefit them. And they're just going to age out of the game and not have the life experiences that they think they're going to try to enjoy now while they have their youth. And that's their only bargaining chip here, by the way, Scott, is the fact that they have their youth and they get to decide how they're going to spend it. And I'll end there.
All right, can I ask him, now that he's done?
No, we'll come to you. That's not how the room works. I don't know if you're new, but we come to you, and then you can talk when we get to you, but we're not to you yet. So just hang on. We will get to you. We will get to you. Promise. Anyone before 6 we'll get to, but you are not in the queue yet.
Oh, how do I get into the queue?
You're in the queue. It's fine. You're in the queue. You're in the queue. Rather, we'll come to
screen the order of people, which you may not see on your screen. It doesn't mean you're being left out. It simply means he sees it.
Okay, there's another context to the deal. Why are these planes sitting in the sky and seen in all distances?
David, wild to see you. How are you showing emotion? What do you think about this fact? Two-thirds of the young people want to leave the United States.
Okay, so I am feeling fine, right? So emotionally, I'm okay. It is not surprising. Look, we're somewhere between 1.5 to close to 7 million in terms of the estimated amount of housing we would need to build to really be able to address supply and demand of housing necessary. A lot of millennials, and particularly Gen Z, can't afford to buy a house. Housing is too expensive. It costs too much, right? And somebody mentioned this earlier, but you take that on top of student debt, you take that on top of people having to pay condos, you take that on top of people having to pay high cost of rent and other sort of, that increases and costs here. And even if you just moved from, like, say, California, where I'm at, to another state, and there's been that experiment to see that happen, ultimately those people end up increasing the cost of living for other people, right? Who are living in those areas that they moved to, right? So there isn't like at least in statewide, in the United States, there isn't like an easy escape from that. So there are all these expenses that are popping up, expenses that like boomers didn't really have, right? The boomers, and particularly those who were college educated, middle class individuals, have been reaping the benefits of things that like millennials, Gen Z, are just not going to be able to reap the benefits of, or at least don't see a real long-term future of most people being able to reap those benefits. On top of that, somebody's talking about employment, but let's think about this. On top of that, you have employers who not only, first it was the blue-collar jobs that were being shipped overseas, the factory workers and, middle America, all those areas. Well, now you have the white-collar jobs being shipped overseas to other different countries. You have sometimes the use of H-1B visas, right, to bring in people to the United States and almost work those people like, almost pseudo-slavery because they don't have any opportunities to move from one company to another because they need to be sponsored. But those are replacing. And now we even have AI coming in to replace entry-level jobs that a lot of people would have gotten straight out of college. Some of those jobs that have been starting from bottom-level starting point at a company or corporation or a business. And eventually AI is going to be coming for even more on the white-collar jobs. So when you think about all of these different things that are happening, right, influence of things that have been happening, the really big one, I think, the last 20 years, right, and it continues to increase, right? You can understand why individuals would say, hey, I want to try it somewhere. Some people may say, oh, they're just spending too much time on the social media and they're seeing things. I think lots of fiddlesticks. Every generation accuses the younger generation of being too consumed about this, too consumed about that. I think the great thing about social media, particularly YouTube and some others, is that people do get an opportunity to get a full view. It's not like the content creators out there just telling you, oh, it's just great, go to Malaysia. They are giving people ups and downs of what it's like to live there. They're really getting to see that. So what people are seeing, whether or not they should or should not move there, whether or not they like it or whatever trade-off they get from being anywhere, I think that you have a lot of people who are dissatisfied with the state of the United States of America. It doesn't matter what your politics are, and I can millennial, Gen Z, left, right, wherever they are, all feeling a lot of same kind of anxieties and the same kind of social economic issues and these kind of things going on. And so you can see at that point where you would have 2/3 of people literally considering maybe it's time to exit the United States, right? Maybe this system isn't it anymore, and it doesn't appear that the politicians, regardless of whether they're left or right or any other people, are really seriously trying to do anything to change and solve that situation. All they're doing is giving platitudes of, oh, you just got to work harder, you just got to do this, and you got to do that.
If you don't have anything nice to think or say, this is my response from hanging out with my mom since Monday. She's Queen Jean the Mean. And I just dropped her off at her friend's house, so I have a 24-hour break from her never-ending mouth. She was made for Clubhouse. She was even Mom's a super troll. Anyways, I'm going to do a meditation here. Got all my phone set up to go live. We're going to create clips. I'm going to read a book. Try to relax. Get some wisdom soaked into my veins. Because I gotta tell you, I am so sick of listening to my mom formulate an opinion on every single thing everything she sees or hears. She's got an immediate and automated response, and she's very much like that scene with Mel Brooks where he screams "Fushta" because she has to get the last word in on everything. It's crazy, and she's not a pleasure to be around. But the way we deal with our environment is the most important thing, and I'm not dealing with it well, to tell you the truth. I'm not doing that great. My success here has been low, and it's a me problem. She says I have no patience, and I agree with that. I have no patience. This I'm gonna lie. material and contrast it against what, like, for example, and that's why you keep using lifetime as the most relevant example, which is one reason why they picked them up. That lifetime.
Okay, this is John. See if anybody shows up to this room. Okay, before you get to happiness, though, you got to read the Buddha. They just got straight to the happiness, but this is the Buddha. Verse number 14, the Dhammapada. The Buddha's conquest is beyond all conquests. The Buddha's development cannot be measured. In worldly terms, whose range of vision is infinite, who has no feet of clay, and what feet can anyone deign to lead the Buddha? The Buddha is one who has crushed the bonds of desire, the lures that lead one astray. And what feet would you have the Buddha move? For he has no feet. Even gods cherish the vigilant Buddhas. Meditative, wise, peaceful, and free of passions. It is difficult to be born human. It is difficult to conduct life as a human being. Rare is the opportunity to hear the Dhamma. Even more rare is the appearance of a Buddha. To shun all evil, to do good, to purify one's heart. This is the teaching of the Buddhas. Patience that is enduring is the best discipline. Nirvana say the Buddhas is the highest goal. Whoever hurts another is not a monk. Whoever insults another is not a renunciant. Right speech, harmlessness, restraint, according to the monk's discipline, moderation in food, peace and remoteness and solitude, devotion to higher meditation. Oh, this is the teaching of the Buddhas. A shower of gold pieces cannot satisfy craving. Sensual pleasures bring little sweetness, cause much suffering. The discipline of the Buddha finds joy in the extinction of desire. Oh, threatened with danger, many go for refuge to gardens, sacred trees, mountains and forests. But such is not safe refuge. Such is not the supreme refuge. By means of such a refuge, no one is able to free himself from all these sufferings. However, if one turns to the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha for refuge, realizes the Four Noble Truths, dukkha, dukkha's cause, the cessation of dukkha, the Noble Eightfold Path that leads to the cessation of dukkha. So now, dukkha is the Pali word for pervasive unsatisfactoriness. the many kinds of suffering, from the small to the great. This indeed is the safe refuge. This is the supreme refuge. Turning to this refuge, one frees oneself from all suffering. The supreme being is hard to find. He is not born in many places, but wherever he is born, the family of such a wise one prospers. Blessed is the appearance of the Buddhas. Blessed is the teaching of the Dhamma. Blessed is the unity of the order. Blessed is the disciplined life of its followers. Whosoever honors those worthy of honor, the Buddhas or their disciples, who have overcome the obstacles to development, and have rid themselves of grief and lamentation, who have attained inner peace, and have become fearless. His merit cannot be measured by anyone as this much or that much. Happiness. Truly we dwell in happiness. Others hate, but we do not. Surrounded by those who hate, we live free from hatred. Truly we dwell in happiness. Others are sick, but we are not. Surrounded by sick people, we live free from sickness. Truly we dwell in happiness, free from struggles while others struggle. Surrounded by struggling people, we live free from conflict. Truly we dwell in happiness, having no obstacles at all. We shall feed on joy like radiant gods. Okay, I'm going to take a little reading break here and play you the Dhammapada.
Popular understanding of Judeo-Christian doctrine, but where...
So ABC was here today.
How did you know?
The furnace is so quiet.
Yeah, it's done. Hey!
Beware of the anger of the mind. Master your thoughts. Let them serve truth. The wise have mastered the body, word, and mind. They are the true masters. Impurity. You are as the yellow leaf. The messengers of death are at hand. You are to travel far away. What will you take with you? You are the lamp to lighten the way. Then hurry, hurry. When your light shines without impurity or desire, you will come into the boundless country. Your life is falling away. Death is at hand. Where will you rest on the way? What have you taken with you? You are the lamp to lighten the way. Then hurry, hurry. When your light shines purely, you will not be born, and you will not die. As a silversmith sifts dust from silver, remove your own impurities, little by little. Or, as iron is corroded by rust,
I'll be back.
your own mischief will consume you. Neglected, the sacred verses rust, for beauty rusts without use, and, unrepaired, the house falls into ruin, and the watch without vigilance fails. In this world and the next, there is impurity and impurity. When a woman lacks dignity, when a man lacks generosity, but the greatest impurity is ignorance. Free yourself from it. Be pure. Life is easy for the man who is without shame. Impudent as a crow, a vicious gossip, vain, meddlesome, dissolute. But life is hard for the man who quietly undertakes the way of perfection with purity, detachment, and vigor. He sees light. If you kill, lie, or steal, commit adultery, or drink, you dig up your own roots. And if you cannot master yourself, the harm you do turns against you grievously. You may give in the spirit of light or as you please, but if you care how another man gives or how he withholds, you trouble your quietness endlessly. These envying roots, destroy them and enjoy a lasting quietness. There is no fire like passion. There are no chains like hate. Illusion is a net, desire a rushing river. How easy it is to see your brother's faults, how hard to face your own. You winnow his in the wind like chaff, but yours you hide like a cheat covering up an unlucky throw. Dwelling on your brother's faults multiplies your own. You are far from the end of your journey. The way is not in the sky, the way is in the heart. See how you love whatever keeps you from your journey. But the Tathagatas, they who have gone beyond, have conquered the world. They are free. The way is not in the sky, the way is in the heart. All things arise and pass away, but the awakened awake forever. The just. If you determine your course with force or speed, you miss the way of the law. Quietly consider what is right and what is wrong, receiving all opinions equally without haste, wisely observe the law. Who is wise, the eloquent or the quiet man? Be quiet and loving and fearless. Or the mind talks, but the body knows. Gray hairs do not make a master. A man may grow old in vain. The true master lives in truth, in goodness and restraint, non-violence, moderation, and purity. Fine words or fine features cannot make a master out of a jealous and greedy man. Only when envy and selfishness are rooted out of him may he grow in beauty. A man may shave his head, but if he still lies and neglects his work, if he clings to desire and attachment, how can he follow the way? The true seeker subdues all waywardness. He has submitted his nature to quietness. He is a true seeker, not because he begs, but because he follows the lawful way, holding back nothing, holding to nothing, beyond good and beyond evil, beyond the body and beyond the mind. Silence cannot make a master out of a fool, but he who weighs only purity in his scales, who sees the nature of the two worlds, he is a master. He harms no living thing. And yet, it is not good conduct that helps you upon the way, nor ritual, nor book learning, nor withdrawal into the self, nor deep meditation. None of these confers mastery or joy. O seeker, rely on nothing until you want nothing. The way. The way is eightfold. There are four truths. All virtue lies in detachment. The master has an open eye. This is the only way to the opening of the eye. Follow it. Outwit desire. Follow it to the end of sorrow. When I pulled out sorrow's shaft, I showed you the way. It is you who must make the effort. The masters only point the way. But if you meditate and follow the law, you will free yourself from desire. Everything arises and passes away. When you see this, you are above sorrow. This is the shining way. Existence is sorrow. Understand and go beyond sorrow. This is the way of brightness. Existence is illusion. Understand. Go beyond. This This is the way of clarity.
Each fall, Medicare members receive something called an ANOP. That is your annual notice of change. And it's basically your What's New letter with updates on your Medicare plan's costs, benefits, and coverage for the new year. So when it arrives in the mail, be sure to open it as it has important updates about your plan for the new year. Have you received your ANOP yet?
Happy, happy nappers! Happy, happy nappers!
Introducing PhotoFlix, the new Happy Nappers with something incredible inside. It's a lovable digital friend that lets kids hug and hold their favorite videos and pics.
I have a dog named Max, and he loves the water. Grandpa sends the best videos. I have the best picture of my brother.
And parents love this. Each PhotoFlix friend lets you easily upload your favorite photos, videos, and special memories to watch, share, and show you care.
I'll see you soon. Love you.
I love you too, Daddy.
PhotoFlix holds up to 17,000 photos or up to 2 hours of video, so kids can hug and hold everyone they love everywhere they go, or watch videos of grandparents reading their favorite stories.
Good night, Grandma. I love you.
Good night, or pictures of loved ones kids can hug every day.
Happy Nappers PhotoFlix is so easy to use. I simply plug in the cable, connect to my computer, and then I drag and drop my favorite videos and pictures. Now I can share a hug with my granddaughter every day.
And best of all, every piece of content is parent-controlled and installed. For even more fun, you can upload all your kids' favorite shows and funny videos, so every boy and girl can watch, laugh, and enjoy. Plus, you can upload birthday wishes from your friends, no matter where they are, or create slideshow memories.
Whoa! Hey, that's me.
It even has an auto-off timer to say goodnight. There's a Happy Nappers PhotoFlix waiting to play with you. You can choose from BB the Unicorn or Max the Shark for $69.99 plus $7.99 processing and handling. We'll include these headphones free with your paid order. And here's something nice. When you order more than one, we'll lower the price. You can log on at getphotoflix.com. Batteries not included. Must be 18 or older to order.
You are strong. You are young. It is time to arise. So arise, lest through irresolution and idleness you lose the way. Master your words. Master your thoughts. Never allow your body to do harm. Follow these 3 roads with purity, and you will find yourself upon the one way, the way of wisdom. Sit in the world, sit in the dark, sit in meditation, sit in light. Choose your seat, let wisdom grow. Cut down the forest, not the tree, for out of the forest comes danger. Cut down the forest, fell desire, and set yourself free. While a man desires a woman, his mind is bound as closely as a calf to its mother. As you would pluck an autumn lily, pluck the arrow of desire. For he who is awake has shown you the way of peace. Give yourself to the journey. Here shall I make my dwelling in the summer and the winter and in the rainy season. So the fool makes his plans, sparing not a thought for his death. Death overtakes the man who, giddy and distracted by the world, cares only for his flocks and his children. Death fetches him away as a flood carries off a sleeping village. His family cannot save him, not his father, nor his sons. Know this. Seek wisdom and purity. Quickly clear the way. Out of the forest, there is pleasure and there is bliss. Forgo the first to possess the second. If you are happy at the expense of another man's happiness, you are forever bound. You do not what you should. You do what you should not. You are reckless, and desire grows. But the master is wakeful. He watches his body. In all his his actions, he discriminates, and he becomes pure. He is without blame, though once he may have murdered his mother and his father, 2 kings, a kingdom, and all its subjects. Though the kings were holy, and their subjects among the virtuous, yet is he blameless. The followers of the awakened awake, and day and night they watch and meditate upon their master. Forever wakeful, they mind the law. They know their brothers on the way. They understand the mystery of the body. They find joy in all beings. They delight in meditation. It is hard to live in the world and hard to live out of it. It is hard to be one among many. And for the wanderer, how long is the